Gypsy packed a bag, left a note for her mother, and we don't have proof that this note was left, but Gypsy says she left a note to her mother telling her she wanted to be free, she knows how old she really is, she knows she is not dying, and she signed, "I love you, your grown-up daughter." From that point, Gypsy left, went to Dan at the hospital, they went back, finds out that Dan doesn't live in his own house, he's couch surfing at a friend's house.
No way.
Not only that, but he's on parole, so
no
he can't
way.
leave the state, which makes it a lot harder for Dee to not track her down, which she does, and Gypsy willingly goes back to Dee.
Yeah.
Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. I'm your host, Justin Chopin, business owner, lawyer, dad, world's best husband, traveler, and adventure seeker. On this podcast, we mix business with pleasure. We'll dive into growth strategies, entrepreneurial adventures, the business of law, and prove that business isn't boring. So let's get ready because we are going above the legal limit.
Welcome to another episode of Above the Legal Limit, my trending duo of criminal case files. So what are we talking about? What's today?
Today we are talking about Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Gypsy Rose, she's a gypsy?
Nope.
She's a Cajun.
She's a Cajun? So is she not a gypsy?
Rose.
Why are you calling her that?
That's her name.
Her name is Gypsy? So she's named Gypsy.
Yes.
Okay.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
You've never heard of Gypsy Rose?
No, sorry. All right, I don't know who Gypsy...
If any of you watched last episode, we did talk about her on last, the Menendez brothers.
Okay, we talked about that. All right. I don't know who Gypsy Rose is. Gypsy
All
Rose
right, let's
Blanchard?
tell you about her.
That's Blanchard. What do I need to know?
Well, let's start with her parents.
All right.
Claudine Dee Blanchard is her mother. We call her Dee.
Just call her Dee.
Dee, old Dee.
She's a French Cajun woman from Golden Meadow, Louisiana, Lafourche Parish.
Gotcha. Sure.
Rod Blanchard, her husband, a fisherman. They're not married very long in this story,
All
but
right.
They were married for a little bit. Dee was younger than Rod, who was 23 years old. I just know that Dee lied about her age.
Okay, I was about to say that.
Yeah, she was actually older than she said she was.
Okay.
She had Gypsy when she was 24.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up splitting up shortly after, I believe, he found a new wife.
But at some point, they had split up, not completely broken up, not divorced. And
separated.
Yes, separated. And at that point was the first time Gypsy, the little girl that they had together, was first diagnosed with sleep apnea. And I'm not going to say a formal diagnosis because there's actually no medical records, and the medical records are a big point of this case that we're going to talk to about. But there was no evidence of her diagnosis with sleep apnea. But by the time Gypsy was, I think it was
5, she'd be diagnosed with asthma, hearing and vision impairments, and epilepsy, and also later be put into a wheelchair for a motorcycle accident that occurred with her grandfather that didn't actually happen.
That's weird.
She just got a simple knee abrasion.
Yeah, but the key thing here that just starting off as a young child, she's using a CPAP machine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to sleep, treating her for the sleep apnea.
Which I'm assuming she doesn't have. So this I heard you guys talk about this is the Munchausen's by proxy.
Yeah, we do have a definition of that. Do we want to just put that out there? All right, Munchausen by proxy, you want to do it?
A psychological condition in which a parent or caregiver claims their dependent, typically a child, has a non-existent illness.
If you're speaking to a Gen Xer, we say this is the thing that from The Sixth Sense, right, where she puts the turpentine in the soup. All right. So Munchausen's by proxy. Mom sounds batshit crazy.
Yes. So they spend the first couple years of their life moving around Louisiana.
Okay.
Golden Meadow, Slidell.
One point New Orleans.
Yeah, moved in with the grandparents. I really don't want to touch on this. I don't think it's relevant to what we're going to be discussing, but she does make allegations of sexual abuse at a young age at the hands of her grandfather. She does not have a father figure present in her life. So
the dad's gone.
Yeah, the dad, they call on occasion, but Dee did a lot to make sure that full control of her and care for her medical treatment was in her control.
Roger that.
And so around 9 years old, Gypsy was placed on a permanent feeding tube. attached to her abdomen. The medical records only, the reason being there was really no medical reason for this feeding tube other than her mother claims she had.
Attached to the abdomen?
Yeah, the feeding tube.
Well, obviously, I mean, she didn't do that herself.
No, all of these are, so the mom would go to the doctor,
right.
And for this instance, the only thing that anyone's been able to find as to why she got the feeding tube was a fear of eating. She told that her daughter would not eat. My daughter won't eat anything.
Because she looked malnourished, and she equated that to an eating disorder.
So they put her in the feeding tube.
I mean, it sounds like the doctor's got to answer for some of that.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that for sure.
Okay. I mean, I have a daughter who's 9 years old. You can ask her, are you afraid to eat? And she's going to say, what? Mm-hmm. No?
I just want chips.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Gypsy denies the claims that she was ever afraid to eat anything.
At this point, they were both on Medicaid. Gypsy was getting 3 government issued.
Medicaid even approved that.
Yeah. She was getting 3 payments for Gypsy. Had 3 phones. They were getting all of this help. They ended up living in a house that was paid for by, who was it?
I mean, so they also spent time in the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah.
Like when I tell you they were, everywhere they went, they were reaping benefits of government agencies,
Ronald McDonald House is great.
Yeah, they stayed in the one down here. So they lived rent-free for a while at the Ronald McDonald House and moved into the Golden Meadow Project until she was about 9. She had been living in that wheelchair ever since that initial accident where all she had was a scrape on the knee. And her reasoning around why she was in the wheelchair changed. Dee Dee's reasoning changed a lot of the time, whether it was the seizures affected her brain or got into a part of her brain that affected, or what was the other one, cerebral palsy?
She claimed that she was a quadriplegic since birth.
Okay.
Which was not true.
It's kind of strange.
Yes.
I mean, 9-year-olds will get in and out of wheelchairs.
Yeah.
I can't make mine sit down.
No.
So
and by this point,
at some point, this is also just a side thing. At some point, Dee Dee gets prescribed opioids for leg pain. There's talk of there was an accident that happened that Dee Dee, we haven't been able to verify if this accident was true, but at some point, Dee Dee starts getting prescribed opiates, and this is important only because Gypsy develops an addiction to these opiates at a very young age, and uses them to sort of get through this entire process of everything that she goes through.
And at this point, or at some point, Katrina happens.
Okay.
And following Katrina, Gypsy's continued to go to hospitals and get various procedures done. But the medical records that they were using were falsified by her mother. She claims that everything else was destroyed in Katrina, but she had the original records herself. So starting then is when they kind of wipe the slate completely clean, and nobody really knows exactly what the doctors knew before that.
Okay. It's common.
So
issue.
up to this point before Katrina, because I think let's stop at Katrina and let's talk about these medical records and how she really pulled off all of this. So by this point, they had all of this government funding: food stamps, disability checks, charity gifts, and Section 8 housing.
Okay.
A little bit before Katrina, Gypsy finds her Medicaid card with an incorrect birthday. She's 3 years older on her Medicaid card than her mother is saying she is. At this time, she's still pretty young. So when her mother says, "Oh, that must just be a typo," Gypsy explains this wasn't her "I'm going to kill my mother" moment. This was a warning sign for her. Just like the first flag that she ever got that something might be up. So before we go into her life...
This is the wrong birthday on her Medicaid card?
But it's the correct birthday.
Okay.
So she's actually 3 years older than her mother has.
At this point, she's 15.
She is. And on all of her medical records, let's get into this.
But
because
she thinks she's 12.
Yeah.
On all of these medical records, there's an incorrect birthday that's not matching with her actual birthday. And I don't understand why that was never flagged. But
Well, if you go to the doctor and they say, how old's your child and what's their date of birth, you just give them, they don't ask for like a birth certificate. They kind of just take your word for it.
Yeah. Well, they ask for like a social security number.
For like records in case you're like you don't pay their bills, but they don't do anything with it.
So let's just talk about.
So what happened? What's the point? Like what?
All right.
What's the nugget? What do I got? So, batshit crazy mom lies about the kid's age.
So basically, at this
keeps
point,
her sick.
Gypsy is starting to see this plot that her mother has for her entire life, which is basically to keep her under her control, living as a child.
As young as possible.
Yeah, she is basically saying that Gypsy has the mental capacity of a 7-year-old.
With documentation to support that.
Yeah.
Which, when a lot of people ask, like, why didn't she say anything? That, to me, is the first thing I go to. If someone that is my caregiver is constantly saying that I have the mental capacity of a 7-year-old, who's going to listen to me if I come to you and say something?
After 15.
Right? If you tell a child that they have the mental capacity of a 7-year-old, you can convince them of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But at this age, she ends up getting access to a laptop. She didn't attend regular school. She didn't have any friends. So now she's kind of being exposed to the outside world. She's doing her research. She's figuring out more and more that what her mom's doing is wrong. And in this, she has this whole fantasy about Disney movies and wanting a romantic relationship with somebody. So she decides she's going to go onto Christian dating websites to seek out somebody's help to basically get away from her mom and live this fairy tale life.
She also just really wanted a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Really wanted
also
a boyfriend.
15 years old.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, right.
I wanted her Prince Charming.
Sure.
She talked about that
That's
often.
the tangled.
Yeah.
I will say I read her book
Boy.
in my research, so everything.
She wrote a book.
Yeah, so because I've watched all
Big
the
time
documentaries. Yeah, I've watched all the documentaries. I've gotten all the objective opinions, and I kind of wanted to hear from her perspective. So a lot of this, we're kind of filtering out what we don't know for sure, but a lot of this is from her perspective because I really wanted to understand, kind of tying back to the Menendez brothers. You have child.
Did she kill the mom?
Yeah.
Okay, so she killed the mom.
Yeah.
There, all right.
She didn't actually kill the mom.
Oh, she gets
Well,
a Christian Christian boy.
Yes.
To do
A
it.
man she
Right.
met on Facebook ends up killing the mom for her.
Got it.
He is charged with murder.
Right.
Yes. No chances of parole, but she is charged with second-degree manslaughter and is sentenced to 10 years.
Not in Louisiana, right? Where is this?
Missouri.
Missouri.
Okay, so say second-degree manslaughter is not a thing.
Yes. So sentenced to 10 years, spends 8.5.
She had to do 85%
Yeah.
of her sentence before she could be eligible
Yeah.
for parole.
And gets out. She ends up getting parole. This was about 2 or 3 years ago.
And now is an influencer.
She is like
Yes.
about to.
She
She's
was
either
about to-
off parole or
Within
about
24
to.
hours, she had to be
She's
in
gonna
the
come
state of
out with her
Louisiana.
own like wheelchair line, her own shoe line.
Yeah.
Well, let's finish the story of how this all happened so we can really get into it. So they're
It's
in
weird.
Missouri. The first man that she meets every year once they got to Missouri, her and her mom, they would do a lot of things. They would go on movie dates. They really stayed home all day long. Gypsy, another thing that I will point out, was never in school.
Okay.
She stopped her education system like kindergarten year. Probably didn't even last the whole year. So that was her only schooling. So she had this real desire to meet people and socialize. So they would go to Vision Con, which is like Comic-Con.
Okay.
And they would go together, dress up, her pretty dresses and like wigs, and Gypsy was really excited about this. She went on Facebook and MySpace at the time, which were relevant then. And she meets this guy on there that she had met before at VisionCon with her mom, and they start chatting and they start flirting, and she ends up opening up. I know how to walk. My mom's forcing me to be in this wheelchair. I just starts opening up about everything, to the point that once Dee Dee finds out, she gets really upset. And
she tries to escape her mom twice.
How old is she at this point?
By this point, she is over the age of 15.
Right.
She doesn't have an exact timeline because she
real
never did
age
confirm her
19,
age. Yeah.
thinks she's 15. This man is 30.
Yeah. So she attempts escapes with this man, ends up not working out and getting violent with her mother.
This was all kind of over the Medicaid card, because when she found the Medicaid card, realizing she's 19 and this man she's with is 30, technically she's of the legal limit to be with him, and so she thought this was her grand escape, but Helena will tell you why it was not.
Yeah.
Wow.
Her mother ended up finding her when she went to go see him, and basically convincing her to come back home.
It was not very hard to convince her,
Yeah.
though, because by the time... So basically, Dan had been in an accident in the hospital, calls Gypsy and was like, Gypsy, can you come? Gypsy packed a bag, left a note for her mother, and, you know, we don't have proof that this note was left, but Gypsy says she left a note to her mother telling her she wanted to be free, she knows how old she really is, she knows she is not dying, and she signed, I love you, your grown-up daughter. From that point, Gypsy left, went to Dan at the hospital, they went back, finds out that Dan doesn't live in his own house, he's couch surfing at a friend's house.
No way.
Not only that, but he's on parole, so
No
he can't
way.
leave the state, which makes it a lot harder
Yeah.
for Dee Dee to not track her down,
Yeah.
Which she does, and Gypsy willingly goes back to Dee Dee
Yeah.
the first time.
These guys sound great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second time, Gypsy actually didn't make it out of the house. Dee Dee was basically using the same tactics. At one point, Gypsy got a knife and also had a BB gun that she was shooting at
Her mother.
Yeah. So
Please let me go. Please let me go.
Yeah. She knew that she was kind of in a bad situation or needed to get out. And things didn't work out with Dan, so she moved on and went on to ChristianDatingForFree.com.
This is when the whole story
Yeah.
takes a turn.
Meets a guy named Nick, and
This is October 12th, 2012.
yeah,
That they
Nick
meet online.
decides, or she decides to tell Nick that she needs help, and they come up with this elaborate plan to
She's still in the wheelchair?
No.
She's like walking around now?
No, her mother
Yeah.
does not let her go out of the house, not in the wheelchair. She can only be out of the wheelchair, like at home, in the privacy of their own home.
Yeah. So they start plotting this murder. In reality, Gypsy's not really plotting the murder. She doesn't actually commit the murder. It's just she wants away from her mother, and she gives Nick this idea that this is the one way I can get out.
So
Because
also,
she's tried before, it hasn't worked.
Sounds like she's plotting the murder.
and it wasn't really it wasn't like a long
Conspiracy.
plotting process necessarily. There was like an initiating thing that got Gypsy to be like, this is my last straw, and she talks about this right before her beginning stages of planning with Nick. Her mother took her to an ear, nose, and throat doctor because her voice was too squeaky. Something must be wrong with her voice. Her voice is too squeaky. So they were going to do an invasive, exploratory surgery on her larynx, which is that your voice box?
Larynx.
But the way she describes it is just like, they can't take my voice too. So that for her was her last straw.
It's like an actual doctor was going to do that based on
They had
representation.
already scheduled an appointment
these
with the
doctors are horrible.
pulmonologist.
Yeah.
Pulmonologist?
They had already scheduled that appointment. She begged her mom not to, and when she wasn't getting the answer she wanted, she texted Nick and said, "You remember when you said you would do anything to protect me?" He said yes. The crazy thing about this is in the courtroom, they have all of these messages. So whether it's their weird fantasy life together you're seeing in the courtroom, or just these messages of them plotting and planning,
Or she's just
it's all
manipulating
there.
old Nick.
Yeah.
Old-
So that's
old
what we were
MySpace
debating
Nick.
before, is who's manipulating
Yeah.
who here.
Well, what does Nick have? What does Nick care? What's he have to lose? What?
Nothing.
He's got no skin in that
Yeah,
game.
no,
Sounds like she's manipulating him.
exactly. And
His larynx is fine.
Well, she says he has a very violent side. His ex-girlfriend messaged him warning Gypsy, he abused me pretty harshly. She claims the day of the murder she was raped by him. I know there's messages of him asking if he could rape Dee Dee after he murdered her.
Gross.
She was stabbed, I think, 17 times. He's not some good guy. He clearly is capable of doing this. And I will say, she has blame and she was wrong, but she wasn't in the room doing the deed.
so and that's one of my
murder
main
for
questions.
hire is
Yeah.
just murder,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
One of my main questions, and this kind of has to go with the Menendez brothers who killed their parents and were obviously abused by the father for a very long time, and that carried on later on to their lives. At what point, and I think this is a big question many people have, at what point are we deciding that somebody's responsible for their actions even when they've had a difficult childhood? Or I don't know if the word's difficult to use because that's unimaginable, but
The law doesn't account for a difficult childhood or abuse, right? So the battered child syndrome, I'm not aware of that being. It could be maybe when it comes down to sentencing, right? But, when we look at murder, did you have the capacity to murder? Yeah, you did. Right? Is there a reason why you murdered? Sure. But isn't there always? You don't get to say something. There's always a reason you murder somebody. Yeah. It could be like, we were fighting, it was in the heat of the moment, or like, I was getting paid money for it, or I'm just fucking nuts. Right? Whatever the reason might be. I think we're cognizant of the fact that people are abused, but that doesn't mean that you didn't commit the murder. It doesn't mean or that you didn't conspire to kill her, or that you didn't manipulate somebody else into a murder for hire sort of situation. So she only got 10 years.
Yeah.
Sounds like she got off easy.
And she's living a pretty normal life now. She lives in Metairie, I believe.
Neat.
She has a child.
Yeah, come here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put down roots here.
But what I want to know, she's brought this up several times, and she's posted about it on Instagram, is talking about having a case against the doctors.
Let's talk about the medical records, because this is crazy to me.
Does she have, you think, a medical malpractice?
Well, let's tell you what the
I don't, because I think all of this is prescribed. She did 10 years. She did 8.5 years in prison because she said she had to do 85% of a 10-year sentence. So all of this goes back sometimes before Katrina.
2002.
So the statute of limitations in Louisiana for medical malpractice would be 1 year. There's a 3-year statute of repose, if you want to call it that. There's like contra non volentum that could interrupt, but not now because she's known about it forever. So I don't see now, maybe in Missouri or Texas or one of these other states, but my hunch is that, did she have a cause of action against the doctors? I think so. Let's go back to the 19-year-old who's being told that her voice is too squeaky. Any doctor who's going to do an invasive surgery based on the representation of a mother for an adult child, forget 19, I don't give a shit if she's 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever, of an adult child on the basis of a squeaky voice, without doing an ultrasound or a scan, or without having a conversation with the 15-year-old, even in private per se. My God, my wife gave birth and they were like, hey, you, dad, get out of the room. I was like, I had to leave the room. So they'd be like, is he abusing you? I was like, wait, what? What did I do? I brought pastries, So did she have a cause of action against the doctor?
Yeah, let me just go through this.
Not anymore.
So in 2024, after getting out of Chillicothe Correctional Facility, finally was the first time she got access to all of her medical records.
Gotcha.
There's this picture that she posted on Instagram of her just with all of the papers surrounded around her, and this was like a really emotional moment for her because it was.
So she's fresh out of jail.
Yeah,
she just got out last. Yeah. She's already an influencer. Was she doing this in jail? Was she an influencer in jail?
She was doing I watched. She had come out with a documentary. Yeah, Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Prison Confessions.
Yeah.
All right.
So her illnesses. Let's just go through her medical history that she has. Her illnesses supposedly started at infancy with the sleep apnea and the CPAP machine.
Roger.
She explained that numerous studies, procedures, dyes, and looming threats of cancer and relapses, etc., were a constant throughout her entire life. The wheelchair, one record showing she was quadriplegic from birth.
When you say a record of that, you mean there's an actual medical record?
And on that medical record, it has her incorrect birthday of 3 years earlier.
Okay.
So just goes to show these records are just. Dee Dee used drugs to mimic symptoms that she wanted Gypsy to display, and the whole thing with the feeding tube is it's very common in Munchausen by proxy because it allows the perpetrator, is that the right word here? It allows the perpetrator a full control of everything coming in, into their body, starvation. When Gypsy got to jail for the first time, she only weighed 94 pounds at 24 years old. Her mother would eat in front of her. I mean, now we know she could really eat, and to me, that's imagine just having.
But at one point, she lost all of her teeth, so it's
they extracted all of her teeth. I will get to that. So, she would drug her with narcotics to make her dizzy and give her brain fog. Before sleep studies, her mom would mix Xanax and Benadryl, affecting her breathing. She put Orajel on Gypsy's gums to make her drool, to make the doctors think her salivary glands were not working properly. Her salivary glands were then removed. Before appointments, she gave her doctor. Oh no, she gave Gypsy doses of Kebra, used to treat seizures. She explains. Gypsy says that she never knew why they extracted all of her teeth. To this day, she doesn't know.
Saliva in her mouth.
She was also using. She used the only thing she ever actually took, but because she couldn't eat food, was she drank out of a baby bottle, like a sippy cup, until she was 24.
Okay.
So
cool.
I mean, I think that also is bad for your teeth.
She probably had fun in prison.
She said in her book, she said the moment that she felt free was the moment she walked into the prison yard, and she said it was the most freeing thing ever. She had the opportunity to make friends. Prison to her had more freedoms than her prison at home.
Sure,
forget that.
I mean, nobody really cares that she killed her mom. That's probably the truth.
And then
no one's lamenting Dee Dee's death.
So if she does talk about this medical malpractice. If she were going to sue for medical malpractice, it wouldn't be for all of the people that did all these procedures on her. What she really wants is surgeries to fix what has been harmed for her.
Well, that's not a remedy under the law.
Yeah, so. I mean, so she just wants everything fixed that is broken.
Like what? Like new teeth?
They can't fix her salivary glands. Right.
She just wants a new grill.
Yeah.
She got one.
She got one,
yeah. They look good.
Yeah. Her focus is primarily on her teeth.
That's a thing.
The eating process for her is something that she's living with as a struggle. And with her
that's
Lifetime documentary, we get to watch, I know the last episode they had out, she was at a restaurant in New Orleans. They're going around Metairie in New Orleans eating at places. And her husband is trying to get her to try all of these
so she's married.
Foods. Yeah.
She's only been out of jail for a year?
Well, actually, now she's not married. She's married, divorced, and now has a boyfriend.
With whom was she had the child with?
Yeah. Yeah, she met this man.
She was dating
well. So okay, let's do the little the drama of her love life. So she actually first met Ken, who she's dating right now. Her and Ken were dating for a long time in prison, and were planning when she got out to be together. Letters. He wrote her a letter.
Yes. Okay.
Visits. Yeah. So her and Ken were dating for a long time. Ended up breaking up, and it was heartbreaking for Gypsy. She was in prison, and she thought that was her person, and she was heartbroken. She thought Ken was the one for her, but she got a letter from another man named Ryan who lives in another part of Louisiana.
So these guys just write to Gypsy in jail? How do they know to write her in jail? They watch
the prison confessions or a movie.
I think you're the one who didn't know that she was in jail.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, man, I started law school before Katrina. I've had my head down for the last 20 plus years. I don't have time to be worried about some gypsy in jail. Mm-hmm. Tons of gypsies in jail.
So she meets this new guy,
Ryan. I can
Ryan.
say that my wife is part gypsy.
She meets this new guy, Ryan, and they eventually get married. And then when she gets out of jail, she starts her Lifetime series where she's basically recording her life, reality TV show. Right. And throughout this process, one of the Kim Kardashian actually came on an episode because Kim's whole thing is prison reform. I really didn't want to talk about the Kardashians on this, but
I'm not a big Kardashian.
Yeah, I knew you wouldn't be, but Kim is very big on prison reform, and that's something that Gypsy is focused on as well. So that has nothing to do with what we were talking about, but
well, it's probably helped her out. That's probably why she's an influencer.
Well, so eventually when she gets out,
she's an influencer by proxy.
She ends up leaving her husband for Ken, the original one that she was dating. Yeah, but about a month after the public finds out that she has just switched from her husband to her boyfriend, we find out she's pregnant.
Oh, no way.
And in the state of Louisiana, if you're pregnant and married, even if that kid is someone else's, so there is a whole paternity of the first. The first thing was the paternity was a huge question, and then it just So
the
this
husband
drama
and the
has
mother is
helped her.
presumed to be the father of the child.
Yeah,
and it's like a mantra that makes you say it when you're studying it for the bar.
Yeah,
but it's only a presumption.
Yeah.
All right, so now what? So she just lives in Metairie.
Yeah.
When she's pregnant.
She's living a normal life, and that's what I think a lot of people have questions and have an issue with is here's somebody who did such.
She's like on Instagram.
Yeah,
like
no,
she's
like going live on TikTok.
She's getting in trouble all the time for things.
She's always getting in trouble.
And I think it's because she has a lot of haters. She also has a lot of supporters, but like everything she does is under a microscope. Like the first couple episodes.
I only typed in a GY.
Yeah.
It was like, you must be talking about Gypsy Rose.
When she got out of prison, they showed this in the Lifetime series. She really wanted to go to the Chiefs game to see Taylor Swift. And like when the public found that out, they reported it to her parole officer. So you see like people like kind of just.
It's confusing, honestly.
Yeah, because when you're a celebrity and you're on parole too, it's a lot more dangerous.
So people think, are you celebrating her because of the crime?
And she did like that ice bucket challenge, and she got over 1 million views. I didn't even know we were still doing ice bucket challenges.
Maybe she's the one that brought it back.
Oh man! All right. Oh wow! All right. We're gonna get like 200 views for this, so don't
and
get your
tune
hopes
back in
up.
for when Justin does the ice bucket challenge.
Yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Yeah, this case, it's really, like, me and Helena have kind of been going back and forth on it. Like, I think we kind of have a little bit of differing opinions on it, too. It's hard for me. So one thing we didn't talk about yet is I keep talking about how the systems all failed her. I feel like the medical system failed her. The education system failed her. How was no one ever accounted for the fact that this little girl never went to school. No one ever verified that she did have an intellectual capacity beyond the words of her mother. And then DCFS was actually called one time and went to her house. And yeah, of course, nothing came from it. Gypsy, like in her book, talks about like had they asked questions more specifically, maybe they would have been able to see it for themselves. If they would have just asked questions so that they could form an opinion of what was going on, rather than asking her like, does your mother love you, or things like that.
Right. Well, that's life, right? When you see these tragic scenarios come up, parents being murdered or kids being tortured, and you say, had anyone asked, or had a teacher done this, or had a doctor ever taken her out of the room? But that's how you end up in these situations. I don't know that she has a case for malpractice against the doctors. If you're telling me that her mother like put her on these crazy cocktails of medications to simulate these symptoms. Sounds like the mom's like she should have gone to med school. Sounds like she's great. I don't even know how she even knows this kind of stuff.
I think she worked as a nurse. Okay. I think she worked as a nurse prior. Her mom also.
It's a very strange thing to get rid of someone's salivatory gland.
Her mom was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
No way.
Very high, big highs, very big lows.
That sounds like it. Yeah. Sounds like her highs are pretty fucking nuts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, all right. I didn't know anything about Gypsy Rose. I didn't realize that she lived here. I didn't realize we were neighbors. Don't come to my house, please. Hope you get your teeth. She already got new teeth. She got all new teeth.
She's good.
She got a nose job too.
And a nose job. Okay. Why not? And you get yourself a new man.
And a baby.
And a baby on the way.
It's here.
Oh, the baby's here. All right, cool. And Dee Dee's gone.
Congrats.
And what about the dad, the original
so
dad?
we didn't even talk about this.
They're like
right?
fully
Now that
in
she's
the life.
famous, I'm assuming he's back.
So
he was back the second she got in prison.
Yeah,
I
the dad
could call that.
They were
expresses so much. In hindsight, I wish I would have done my due diligence.
Your due diligence
as a dad, your due diligence as a dad
make
sure like
diligence.
a lot of the family knew that Gypsy could walk and said they knew. There were times when they were all the kids were on the trampoline outside playing when Gypsy was really young and first in the wheelchair, and Gypsy was like, "Can I go on the trampoline?" And they were like, "Yeah, of course." And when Dee Dee came home, she was upset when she saw that, get right back in your wheelchair right now. But like
she just collapsed.
They knew, once the cancer diagnosis came on, I think once Gypsy started shaving her head and she was already going through all of these treatments, no one thought to think, oh, this is all a lie.
Right. That's a shame.
But the other crazy thing is, so there was this huge gap between her and her parent, her dad. But once she got to prison, her dad became her support system, as well as the stepmother and sister. So now she has a half sister, and a whole family and a support system that, seemingly would have been there if her mom had not gotten away.
Where's the Christian murdering boyfriend?
In prison for life.
Oh. What's his name?
Nicholas Godejohn.
Oh, Nicholas. Old Nick. Nobody cares about Nick, huh? Mm-hmm. No? All right.
She's gotten in trouble a few times, like, she has to be careful about what she says about him.
But she does.
Yes, and she's like spoken on that before, and she's gotten in trouble for that.
That she does.
Yeah.
Because Nick's all rotten. Nick's eating ramen, and you're getting all new teeth.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hey, I learned something here today. I guess if there's a particularly relevant murder it's out there on social media that you want to know about, let us know.
Yeah.
These guys will just, they'll dig down and they'll give us the nuggets that we need to know. And now I know all about Gypsy. So, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for joining me today on Above the Legal Limit. If you enjoyed the show and you want to hear more about business and law, hit that subscribe button. If you didn't like the show, keep it to yourself. Remember, there's no limit to what we can achieve. We will see you next week. Until then, even though we're above the legal limit, let's drive safely. Cheers, everyone.